Great North Woods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, the Woodland Pulp Mill has reported the death of a second employee as a result of a gas release incident back in January.
We'll have that story coming up. Plus, public hearings began at the State House on Governor Mills's proposed supplemental budget plan.
And Washington County Sheriff Barry Curtis, who spent more than 4 decades in law enforcement, is now retiring. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll have those stories and more coming up. Boy, I knew Barry Curtis when we were both young men.
Yeah.
He was a young state police trooper and I was a young reporter here, and he's thinking about retiring.
There was a quick pause.
No,
there,
I
Craig.
still have a few years left in me. I think we'll see. All right, we'll get to the day's news in just a minute, but first we're going to talk about the forecast. You might notice a glaze of ice on your windshield this morning. I had that. I didn't have any problems coming in, but you may want to watch out for black ice.
There was a little fog.
A little bit foggy there.
Yeah.
And it looks like it'll be nice and sunny later on, though.
We'll turn things over to meteorologist Devin Biggs.
And thank you very much, Craig and Janessa. Happy Wednesday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Stone Artisans. For fast, beautiful countertops, trust Stone Artisans, your main stone supplier. 2493040. Alrighty, we have advisories posted. This right here is a small craft advisory that is posted until 7 a.m. as we head towards your Thursday. We'll be watching for some high surf coming up, especially through today with some gusty winds that we will be seeing. In the meantime, here's what we are looking at. We have some snow tracking from the west, and that is tracking east. This will be clearing out throughout the morning period, and the clouds will be breaking up to reveal a good amount of sunshine. There's another system off toward the west, and in the meantime, we are going to be dry for a few days before we get some more activity in here. So futurecasts for today, a lot of sunshine, perhaps a few passing clouds, and later on tonight, notice we'll have a few passing clouds, perhaps some fog too, but overall tonight and a parts of your Thursday, still holding on to the clear skies and sunshine as well. Gusty winds up to 20 to 25 miles per hour today, still some wind tonight, and as we head towards tomorrow, still some wind to keep an eye on. The hourly forecast moving forward for today, temperatures making it into the 30s, plenty of sunshine. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Janessa.
All right, thank you, Devin. We'll see you a little later on. A second employee from the Woodland Pulp Mill has passed away following a gas release incident at the mill in Baileyville back in January. The death was confirmed by the mill's spokesperson, but the employee's identity has not been released. On Tuesday, January 27th, the local fire department says they were called to the mill around 6:20 p.m. after the workers were overcome by some type of gas. Officials say the gas was contained to the bleach plant inside the mill. University of Maine student Casey Malcolm also died following the gas release incident. He was 20 years old.
Last night, the Maine CDC has announced 4 additional cases of measles in Penobscot County. That brings the total case count to 5. Our Callie Warren has more on what it means and advice from the Maine CDC.
This resurgence of vaccine-preventable diseases, including measles, has been ongoing for the last 2 years across the United States.
With 5 measles cases now on the Maine CDC's radar, and all of them in Penobscot County, Director Pateri Va says now is the time to make sure you're vaccinated against measles, mumps, and rubella.
The vaccine is very effective at protecting you. 2 doses, 97% effective. 1 dose, 93% effective. 0 doses, no protection.
Maine's first case of measles since 2019 was announced on February 6th in Penobscot County. The infected person was an adult who was known to visit the Hillview Mini Barns in Etna on January 28th and 29th, and St. Joseph's Hospital's emergency room on February 3rd. Now, 4 more people are known to be infected, all tied back to that same original case.
All 4 cases are unvaccinated.
These new cases do not suggest an outbreak of measles. An outbreak is defined as 3 or more unrelated cases. As of right now, per the CDC, there is no measles outbreak in Maine, though Dr. Va says that doesn't mean folks shouldn't take caution.
It's not without complications, and it's not just another rash, and it's not just another cold. is that 1 in 5 individuals will get complications from measles, such as pneumonia or swelling of the brain, encephalitis, and it will require hospitalizations as well.
According to Dr. Va, the measles disease presents similarly to the common cold for the first few days of infection, including symptoms of cough, runny nose, red and watery eyes, and a high fever. A rash spreading from the head down typically appears a few days later.
What's really critical here is that you are not infectious when the rash appears. You're actually infectious 4 days before the rash and then 4 days through the rash afterwards.
For more information on measles, vaccination, and precautions, visit this story on our website. Callie Warren reporting for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
A trial began Tuesday for a man accused of killing his girlfriend's 3-year-old daughter in Edgecombe. Tyler Witham Jordan is charged with depraved indifference murder for the death of McKinsley Handrahan. Authorities say it was on Christmas morning back in 2022 when the child's mother called 911 to report her daughter was cold, stiff, and not breathing. First responders found bruises all over the little girl's body, and the medical examiner's office ruled the cause of death was blunt force trauma and internal injuries. Witham Jordan's first trial ended in a mistrial. His new trial got underway yesterday in Bath.
The man accused of shooting at and damaging 3 different CMP substation locations made his first court appearance on Tuesday. 54-year-old Thomas Welsh of Fairfield is facing multiple counts of aggravated criminal mischief in connection with the shooting incidents, which Maine State Police say occurred at CMP substations in Windsor, Winslow, and Augusta. Since those are felony charges, no plea was taken by the court during yesterday's proceeding. Prosecutors requested $250,000 cash bail, plus conditions that Welsh not be allowed to possess dangerous weapons, including firearms, that he submit to random searches for weapons, and that he not be allowed to operate a motor vehicle. Prosecutors say the Windsor and Augusta locations suffered $1 million in damage each, and the result of the search warrants were also concerning.
There were thousands of rounds of ammunition, tactical vest, body armor, helmets, flex cuffs, numerous firearms. And at the scene of the shootings of these 3 different locations were numerous shell casings.
Welsh's defense lawyer reserved their bail argument for a later time and for now consented to the state's request, which was granted by the court. A dispositional conference is scheduled for June 11th.
Well, meanwhile, it looks like some power bills will be going down this summer. Central Maine Power is proposing rates that could lower bills by about $4 a month on average. It's a temporary decrease as CMP looks at proposing another rate change for next year. The new rates would start in July. The new proposal still requires approval from the Public Utilities Commission.
Public hearings began in Augusta on Governor Mills' proposed supplemental budget. The governor is pushing for major investments in areas such as healthcare and addressing affordability. Our Grace Blanchard has more.
The Maine Legislature's Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee has begun hearing public testimony on Governor Janet Mills' proposed supplemental budget, a roughly $257 million addition to the more than $11 billion biennial budget.
Incredibly important for us to hear from the public about whether they like a proposal, whether they dislike a proposal, whether there's some topic that is wholly missing that they think that we need to address.
Public hearings began Tuesday with members of Maine's health and human services sector addressing the committee, as the governor's budget proposes millions in funding to support the health and welfare of Maine people.
I think what a lot of us are talking about in this building this year is affordability. You know, we're hearing a lot from our constituents about what things cost, the challenges that they're facing in terms of health care and housing.
In her 2026 State of the State address, Governor Mills unveiled her affordability agenda, which she says aims to deliver immediate financial relief and long-term cost stability for Maine people. Republican lawmakers have expressed skepticism regarding the funding sources and allocations in the proposed spending plan, especially the proposal for $300 affordability relief checks.
Our credit rating, if we look at long-term bonds, would be affected by that. So even though the $300 might help some people, the negative impact to the whole state is, you know, huge. And so I would hate to see that happen.
According to the House AFA chair, budget disputes are routine and the process must run its course.
At the end of the day, whatever we pass has has to make sure that we're not spending more than the amount of money that we have in terms of resources.
Public hearings on the budget are expected to continue through February 26. In Augusta, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Senator Susan Collins is backing a Republican-led bill that opponents fear could make it harder for many people to vote. Last week, the U.S. House passed the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, commonly referred to as the SAVE Act. The bill would require people to provide documented proof of citizenship when registering to vote and to show a photo ID to cast ballots in federal races. Senator Collins voiced her support for the bill, saying these steps will ensure only American citizens are voting in our elections.
If we pass the SAVE Act, to me, it will help restore the public's confidence in election results, and that is really vital for our democracy.
Last November, more than 60% of Maine voters rejected a similar proposal. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows fears the SAVE Act could disenfranchise millions of eligible voters by creating additional barriers to participation, noting specifically married women who may have changed their names could be turned away at the polls because of discrepancies between their birth certificate and current legal names.
Our elections are extraordinarily free, safe, and secure. We have excellent elections here in our state. We don't need folks in Washington telling us how to do things. And unfortunately, this legislation will have the impact of making it harder for people to vote.
The SAVE Act now faces the challenge of passing in the Senate.
Meanwhile, the Washington County Sheriff has announced he will not seek re-election. Sheriff Barry Curtis has spent more than 4 decades in law enforcement. He started his career with the Maine Warden Service, then moved on to the Maine State Police, where he served for nearly 25 years before retiring in 2010. After a short break, Curtis, who is a Cherryfield native, was elected Washington County Sheriff in 2014. He says leading the sheriff's office has been the highlight of his career.
Being a sheriff is different, you know, and there's a lot of responsibility, but I actually really enjoyed it. I had, you know, probably it's the most fun I've had in a long time, you know, in the last few years, because we ran into a financial problem here in Washington County, which, you know, kind of spoiled a lot of it, but I still really enjoy it.
Curtis says he would have preferred to leave on a high note, but he's confident the next sheriff will continue moving the department forward.
Boy, Barry's got white hair like me now. You know, funny how that happens.
It is. The time now is 6:12. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, a new cardiac prevention clinic is opening in Hermit. We'll learn all about it coming up.
But first, another check of your weather forecast for today. It looks like a mostly sunny and breezy day with highs near 35 degrees. Mostly clear tonight with lows dropping down to around 12. Tomorrow, another beauty of a day, mostly sunny with highs near 36. We'll be right back.
Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. We are the top source for screen printing, embroidery, branded merchandise, and direct-to-garment printing. With decades of experience, state-of-the-art equipment, and a commitment to excellence, why trust your apparel products with anyone else? And now, Brandywine Graphics can easily launch online stores for your school or organization. Simply design your products from brands like Eddie Bauer, Carhartt, and more. Share the link and we'll do the rest. Like we said, Brandywine Graphics makes it easy. Find out more at brandywinegraphics.com or at our Hamden location.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
Every year, communities recognize outstanding service with the Spirit of America Foundation Tribute. Do you know a local person or group that goes above and beyond for others? Nominate them today by contacting a select person, city or town councilor. Help honor those who make a difference where you live. For more information, visit spiritofamerica.website.
Bangor residents, business owners, and visitors will have the opportunity to voice their opinions and concerns about parking in downtown Bangor. The city is holding a meeting in the Bangor Public Library on February 26 at 6 p.m. It's a time for the public to share their thoughts, ask questions, and describe how they use city parking. Those who wish to attend are asked to fill out an online RSVP form. You can find a link to that form on this story on our website at foxbangor.com.
Heart disease is the #1 killer here in the U.S. That's according to the CDC. And one new cardiac prevention clinic in Herman hopes to help patients make their heart health a priority once again. Our Jody Hersey stopped by Schoodic Hope and Healing to learn more about their program.
For 13 years, Elizabeth Getchell has worked as a physician's assistant in cardiology. This year, she decided to follow her heart and open her own preventive cardiology clinic in Herman called Schoodic Hope and Healing, where she will meet with patients one-on-one.
You know, family history is a huge part of heart disease, and it doesn't start when you're 50. It starts in your 20s and your 30s.
Having worked in healthcare, Getchell has seen firsthand how people have struggled to get an appointment with their cardiologist or primary care physician. That's why she wanted to offer her services to patients starting next month.
So there's two subsets of patients, basically. Primary prevention, people who don't have it, and secondary prevention for people who do have heart disease. So I'm basically the bridge between primary care and bridge between cardiology.
Getchell says she's truly looking to help both male and female patients improve their quality of life.
Looking at your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your weight, and just saying, hey, what do I need to do to kind of get back on track?
Herman's Economic Development Director Scott Perkins says the town is fortunate to have another healthcare option available in the area.
Herman provides a workforce for the entire region, eastern and central Maine. And the way we look at it, this is not just good for Herman and our residents, but the whole community in central and eastern Maine.
In Herman, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Boy, with hearing all these different clinics closing and things, we could use all those kinds of facilities we could get.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The time now is 6:17. After the break, the social media addiction trial is underway in Los Angeles, and tech giants are set to take the witness stand.
We'll have a story coming up, plus a special American flag was honored in 2 Maine communities to celebrate America's 250th birthday. Those stories and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
What matters more? A bank with innovative products or one that cares for the community? At Bangor Savings Bank, we think it's both because our innovation helps customers build stronger credit, earn rewards when shopping local, give teens independence and financial experience, and simplify business with local solutions. So what matters more? You.
From pop music legend Cyndi Lauper and Broadway's Harvey Fierstein, Kinky Boots, the Tony and Grammy-winning feel-good best musical about seizing your destiny and being who you want to be. Be inspired by the Broadway show that has captured hearts around the world. Kinky Boots, March 3rd, Cross Insurance Center. On sale at Ticketmaster.com.
For the best selection in classic and contemporary furnishings, stop by Richard Parks Furniture on High Street in Ellsworth. Handcrafted New England-made bedrooms and dining rooms, imported Scandinavian recliners and upholstery, more than 40 lines of furniture for the home and patio. Richard Parks Furniture is your #1 stop for quality, functionality, and well-designed furniture at affordable prices. Richard Parks Furniture.
Discover Richard Parks.
132 High Street in Ellsworth.
Discover Richard.
A special American flag that will eventually fly above our nation's capital was honored in 2 Maine communities as part of its nationwide journey. Penobscot County Sheriff Troy Morton and Cumberland County Sheriff Kevin Joyce were among those present. Morton says the National Sheriff's Association partnered with the National Flag Foundation and UPS to bring the special flag, called the Flag Sojourn 250, to Maine. The flag arrived in Maine from California, and yesterday there was a special ceremony in Lubec. Then later, another ceremony was held in Bucksport. The flag has been transported all across the country in honor of our nation's 250th birthday.
What an amazing honor to have this flag at both in Lubec and then in Bucksport, knowing that on the 4th of July in Washington, D.C., this will be raised by the National Sheriff's Association and Military Honor Guard, and then will be retired and memorialized as a historic flag that traveled across our country.
Pretty neat. Well, Bucksport and Lubec were the only two stops in Maine. The flag will continue traveling across the country until it's finally raised in Washington, D.C.
Oh, how cool is that?
Very neat.
It is. Now let's get a full look at our weather forecast with meteorologist Devin Biggs.
Alrighty, Craig and Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Stone Artisans. For fast, beautiful countertops, trust Stone Artisans, your main stone supplier. 249-3040. Alrighty, small craft advisory is up until 7 a.m. as we head towards your Thursday. With gusty winds today, we are going to have to watch for the active surf along the coast, and that surf is already increasing at around 4 to 6 feet according to the buoys, and that is all along the coast. Farther out towards sea, look at this, at around 6 to 14 feet according to the buoys as well. So definitely no surprise that we are seeing some active surf throughout the ocean. Now, we've had some snow out there that is now clearing out across the region. So for now, we are going to be seeing decreasing clouds throughout the day, and especially this morning to reveal a lot of sunshine. So as we do zoom things out, there is a large system across a good part of the United States, especially in the upper Midwest. This won't be causing much problems for us, but later on this week, we are going to be watching for some more activity that will be moving in. But locally for us, lots of sunshine. You might see a few passing clouds. Later on tonight, mostly clear. Some other spots may see some clouds or areas of dense fog. But as we head towards your Thursday, still lots of sunshine. And then by Thursday night, still not looking too bad. Mostly clear again, maybe some areas of dense fog or clouds still. Our average high temperature is at 32 degrees. We'll be in the mid-30s coming up today. Also into your Thursday and into your Friday. Upper 20s coming up Saturday, and still temperatures in the mid-30s coming up Sunday and your Monday. And then there's Tuesday, will be in the low 30s. So for today, again, the wind's going to be the bigger story. Mid-30s, mostly sunny and breezy. That northwest wind at around 25, perhaps 30 miles per hour at times. Later on tonight, 12 degrees, mostly clear. The wind's backing off a bit out of the northwest at around 5, perhaps up to 10 miles per hour. For tomorrow, okay, mid-30s, mostly sunny, northwest breeze at around 5 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Stone Artisans. Will be partly cloudy for your Friday with highs in the mid-30s. Another chance for snow, another system moves in for your Saturday with highs in the upper 20s, and then mid-30s for your Sunday under a partly cloudy sky.
When you're ready to remodel your kitchen, find all the materials and services you need at Hammond Lumber Company. Get inspired by the extensive in-store displays in Hammond's kitchen, bath, and flooring division. Hammond's designers will help you visualize your space before the work begins. And all design fees are refunded when you purchase your materials from them. And Hammond delivers from 34 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. When it's time for a new kitchen, it's time to bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner.
Welcome to Bob's? What are you?
President Coolidge and I picked up this brand name mattress from the competition. Not sure I got the best President's Day deal.
At Bob's, you get our lowest price every day. Take our best-selling Lush mattress. It has high-density memory foam and a cooling cover, just like the competition, but only costs $9.99.
I paid way more than that.
Alvin, you've got to try this.
Calvin Coolidge.
When you find the better choice, there's only one thing to say.
Oh, my Bob!
Good luck to all the area teams from Silva's Towing in Old Town, serving all of Penobscot County and beyond. McCusick Petroleum in Dover Foxcroft wishes all the area teams good luck in the tournament at the Cross Center. Huckleberry's Card and Gift says good luck to all the teams in the tournament, located in front of Brewer City Hall.
Bangor
Grab your besties and get ready to laugh, sing and dance in the aisle. It's Girls' Night, the musical live at the Gracie Theater, February 21st at 5 p.m. 5 friends and 1 epic party, featuring hit girl anthems like Girls Just Want to Have Fun, I Will Survive, and It's Raining Men. It's part concert, part comedy, and all party. Girls' Night, February 21st at the Gracie Theater. Get your tickets now at 941-7888 or at gracietheater.com.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Now to the latest talks between the U.S. and Iran in Geneva. A U.S. official says some progress was made, but it comes as the U.S. continues to build up its military in the region. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has more from Washington.
This morning, the latest round of nuclear talks in Geneva between the U.S. and Iran have ended without a major breakthrough. Vice President J.D. Vance says the talks made some progress, but that the Iranians have not agreed to all of President Trump's red lines when it comes to their nuclear program.
It's one of the most hostile and also one of the most irrational regimes in the world. You can't have people like that have the most dangerous weapon known to man. It would be awful for our security. It would be awful for the future of our children.
The Trump administration is seeking a deal to limit Iran's nuclear program and ensure it does not develop nuclear weapons. The supreme leader of Iran saying it's not pursuing weapons and has so far resisted demands that it halt uranium enrichment on its soil. The talks come amid a U.S. military buildup in the region with a second U.S. carrier strike group now en route. President Trump has threatened military action if Iran doesn't compromise. In a rare show of force Tuesday, Iran announced the temporary closure of the Strait of Hormuz for live fire drills. The waterway is a crucial international trade route through which 20% of the world's oil passes. It's the first time that Iran has closed parts of the strait since the U.S. began threatening Iran with military action. Also in Geneva, talks between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine are expected to resume today. President Trump is warning Ukraine to make a deal with Russia fast, but key differences remain over land. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
A fiery explosion that ripped through a church in upstate New York yesterday injured 5 people. Among those injured is the pastor and firefighters who responded to the scene. The call reported a gas odor in the building. Officials say New York police are now investigating that explosion, which occurred around 10:30 a.m. at the Abundant Life Church in Boonville. The church was reportedly heated by propane cylinders, and according to troopers, 4 people were in the basement when the furnace turned on, triggering that explosion. Pastor Brandon Pitts and 4 members of the Boonville Fire Department were sent to the hospital with injuries. Police say there is no initial indication of criminal activity.
Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg is expected to testify today inside a Los Angeles courtroom at a trial over whether social media companies have been deliberately getting children addicted to their apps. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio also has that report.
This morning, Mark Zuckerberg set to take the witness stand. The man in charge of Facebook and Instagram will face questions under oath about whether his social media platform deliberately targets children with addictive design features. A 20-year-old woman who's also suing YouTube claims the apps hooked her with features like instant notifications, autoplay, and infinite scrolling, which she claims caused her depression and suicidal thoughts. She began using social media at the age of 6. Some legal analysts say jurors may have a tough time buying her argument.
They're pointing at KGM, that's the name for the 19-year-old who's the plaintiff in this case. They're pointing at KGM and saying, yes, there could be some negative things about social media, but let's talk about her. There was already issues with her, and that's what caused a lot of the mental and physical issues that she's arguing with, not social media.
Defense attorneys are trying to prove the plaintiff had mental health struggles before using their apps, and they say the companies have invested in safeguards and new policies to protect children. An Instagram executive testified last week that keeping teens safe is in the company's financial interest, saying, quote, "It's really hard to imagine any instance where prioritizing safety isn't good for revenue." This will be Zuckerberg's first testimony in court on the potential dangers of social media.
I think that there are harms that we need to work to mitigate.
He's previously testified before Congress in 2024 when he addressed parents who said their children were exploited or harmed online. TikTok and Snapchat were also sued in this case, but already settled. The trial is expected to last through March and could determine how hundreds of similar lawsuits play out. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
Coming up on the second half of the newscast, members of the Herman High School girls basketball team volunteered at their local food pantry.
We'll join them as Good Morning Maine continues.
It's good to be back.
Good Morning America this week. The doctors are in.
It's like stepping back in time.
The cast of Scrubs 2.0.
This is a bit of a Good Morning America exclusive because we haven't told anyone this yet.
This week, only on
Good Morning America.
In Minneapolis, innocent citizens gunned down. Here in Maine, ICE agents detaining local law enforcement. And Susan Collins is giving ICE even more power. As head of the committee that controls spending, Collins wrote the bill to increase ICE funding with no restrictions, no restraints, letting masked agents enter homes without warrants, raid churches and classrooms. Tell Susan Collins to stop towing the party line and start holding ICE accountable.
Most business problems start with one thing: unreliable technology. Digital Brains monitors, protects, and maintains your entire IT environment, keeping everything running flawlessly. When your technology works for you, your business starts thriving. Faster service, happier clients, more productivity, less stress. Clients don't wait, neither should you. Contact Digital Brains today for your free technology assessment. Digital Brains, we help people feel free.
In the great green woods, there was a fishing line and a red lobster buoy, the sun over the pine. And there were 3 little moose sitting on chairs, and 2 big boots, and a pair of bears, and a little toy boat, and a bowl full of blueberries, and a quiet old loon who was whispering, "Hush. Good morning, stars. Good morning, air. Good morning, Maine, everywhere. Good morning, Maine. Good morning, sun. Good morning, the light. The light in everyone. Good morning, Maine." Local news, weekdays at 7 a.m.
You're watching ABC 7 Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026, and this is also Ash Wednesday.
This is a Christian holy day of sacrifice and prayer. It marks the start of the 40-day Lenten season, focusing on repentance, prayer, and fasting before Easter. This special day is defined by the imposition of ashes on the foreheads of Christians from burned palm branches from the previous year's Palm Sunday. The ashes symbolize mortality, humility, and penance.
Catholics especially will be heading to church today.
Yes, definitely.
Moving on to history now. It was on this day back in 1885, Mark Twain's Adventures of Huckleberry Finn was published in the U.S. for the very first time. In 1929, on this date, the first Academy Awards were announced. And in 1930, the dwarf planet Pluto was discovered by American astronomer Clyde Tombaugh. It has been considered, or it had been considered, a full planet until 2006, when it was demoted for failing to meet new criteria for full-sized planets. Pluto, by the way, is smaller than Earth's moon, and it also takes 248 years to complete one orbit around the sun.
Pluto.
I didn't know that. I felt bad for Pluto.
I did too.
When it got demoted.
Yeah, I agree. In 1970, the Chicago 7 defendants were found not guilty of conspiring to incite riots during the 1968 Democratic National Convention. And in 1978, the first Ironman triathlon was held in Kona, Hawaii. And in 2001, racing fans were saddened after NASCAR great Dale Earnhardt Sr. died during a crash on the last lap of the Daytona 500.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
He was at the height of his fame at the time, and boy.
And also in 2001, veteran FBI agent Robert Philip Hansen was arrested and accused of spying for Russia over 15 years. It was considered as possibly the worst intelligence disaster in U.S. history. Hansen was sentenced to life in prison.
All right, for birthdays today, they include rapper Dr. Dre, who is 61 today, actor John Travolta is 72, and game show host Vanna White is 69 years old today, still doing Wheel of Fortune.
Yes.
to this day. Happy birthday to you also, if your birthday is today.
We'll turn things right back over to meteorologist Evan Biggs.
And thank you very much, Craig and Janessa. Happy Wednesday. Your first weather forecast brought to you by Stone Artisans. For fast, beautiful countertops, trust Stone Artisans, your main stone supplier. 2493040. Alrighty, we have advisories posted. This right here is a small craft advisory that is posted until 7 a.m. as we head towards your Thursday. We'll be watching for some high surf coming up, especially through today with some gusty winds that we will be seeing. In the meantime, here's what we are looking at. We have some snow tracking from the west, and that is tracking east. This will be clearing out throughout the morning period, and the clouds will be breaking up to reveal a good amount of sunshine. There's another system off toward the west, and in the meantime, we are going to be dry for a few days before we get some more activity in here. So futurecast for today, a lot of sunshine, perhaps a few passing clouds, and later on tonight, notice we'll have a few passing clouds, perhaps some fog too, but overall tonight and a parts of your Thursday, still holding on to the clear skies and sunshine as well. Gusty winds up to 20 to 25 miles per hour today, still some wind tonight, and as we head towards tomorrow, still some wind to keep an eye on. The hourly forecast moving forward for today, temperatures making it into the 30s, plenty of sunshine. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Janessa.
Thank you, Devin. Still to come here this morning, Jack Webb with sports.
All the tourney highlights and more right after this.
See the USA in your Chevrolet. America's asking you to call. Drive your Chevrolet through the USA. America's the greatest land of all.
Well-qualified buyers can get 1.9% financing when you finance with GM Financial. Or qualified lessees can get this Silverado pickup for around $399 a month.
Dorsey Furniture has just purchased the entire Bedding Industries of America 2025 showroom. That's one of America's oldest and largest premium mattress manufacturers. They manufacture famous Eastman House and Eclipse mattresses, as well as over 20 other trusted brands. From that buyout, we've received 40 mattresses, mostly queen size. And right now, everyone is 50% off. Limited quantity, no reorders. When they're gone, they're gone. Dorsey Furniture, family owned, Maine trusted.
Sleep well, my friends.
Are you in need of remodeling your bathroom? Want to convert your tub into a safe walk-in shower? Call the experts at Bangor Bathrooms by Design now. They offer complete bathroom remodels, and from start to finish, your satisfaction is guaranteed. Call them now and save thousands. 659-6457. Enjoy that brand new bathroom you've always wanted from Bangor Bathrooms by Design. Transforming bathrooms, elevating lives.
ABC 7 and Fox 22's Jack Webb named Maine's Sportscaster of the Year by the National Sports Media Association.
Welcome back in, folks. We've got a ton of action for you from a jam-packed Tournament Tuesday at the Cross Center. We'll get right to it with Class S boys. Number 2 Easton taking on number 3 Catan. Let's just get this out of the way and say, remember this name, Mason Pelletier. This guy is nuts. He gets the steal. He's going to take it all the way to the net. Deja vu. Same play, same player, same result. Pelletier makes them pay yet again. Bears with the lead. The Cougars get some rhythm in the second with this basket from Calvin Richardson, and the game remains close. But then Brighton Hartsgrove with a beauty. He drives all the way, and he's going to float it in, drops it in for 2. Back on the other end, it's Pelletier again with sweet moves to the rack. Count the basket and the foul. He's amped up. And how about one more for the guy averaging 42 points a game in the postseason? On the break, he's out in front, and he's got it. Bears win 72-42.
Honestly, what gets me going is my teammates going. When my teammates hit a couple threes, I'm ready, and I'm gonna start scoring too.
Who will Easton face off with? That's determined in this next game between number 1 Jonesport Beals and number 5 Shed regional final on the line. Let's get it. And this one starts with a bang as the Royals. Anderson Alley drives and hits the reverse for the early lead on the other end. Another nice finish. This time it's the Tigers. Craig Cushing, underhand floater off the top of the glass and falls in. Ball back with the Royals. It's kicked outside. Nathaniel Johnson, zero hesitation from number 4 as he fires the triple, splashes it, and the Royals start to pull ahead. Then Johnson feeds his teammate Corbin Robinson for a 3 of his own. Again, it's good. The number 1 team is showing why they're the best. Johnson wasn't done. How about one more for the kid? He knocks it down, and the Royals knock off the Tigers 55-41.
We just had to make sure, number 30, he's glass cleaner. We just needed to. He was really keeping him in, so we just had to buckle down and keep him off the glass.
First girls game of the day was the 3-seed Jonesport Beals taking on the 2-seed Katahdin. First spot in the regional final. The Royals make the first move. McKenna Kenny drains the corner 3, say that 5 times fast, to take the lead. Shortly after, Maya Mills says, you know what, I want one too. She buries the triple. This Jonesport Beals squad is just full of tongue twisters. But in the second quarter, Katahdin would make their run before the half. Dakota Stevens drains the 3 to make it 20-14 Cougars going into the break. Second half, and Alina Beal sets the tone with this swat. Then it's Emily McNally who knocks down the 3 from the top of the key as Katahdin is rolling. Royals trying to claw back as Aspen Alley puts the second chance points in the hoop, but it was too little too late as McNally gets the 3 to fall, and Katahdin advances to the Class S regional final with a 46-39 win.
It's exciting. We've been here before. I believe our matchup was Southern Aroostook the last time we were here, and it's just going to be a good win if we make it there. So.
Who will take on Katahdin in the regional final, the 1-seed Wisdom or the 4-seed Ashland? Let's find out. Ashland had it going at the start. Look at this ball movement. It's finished off by Sadie Trams, who takes the contact for the and 1 bucket, but now it's Wisdom's turn to show off the teamwork. They cross court just to swing it all the way back around where Maddie Sear drains the triple. But here in the second, the top seed would separate. Sear picks up the loose ball, gets out on the break. She dishes it to Ava Lerman, who drains the jumper. These two dominated the game. Wisdom up 8. Later in the second half, it's Ellie Sear who feeds Lerman as she floats it in. Then it's Sear's turn for the floater herself as Wisdom wins 47-22. They'll take on Katahdin in the regional final.
I think it's great. I think it's a great opportunity for us to show who we really are. We know we've beaten Katahdin twice, but it doesn't mean anything at all. But I think if we come out strong, we'll be able to beat them.
All right, let's go to Class C. They finished up the quarterfinal action with the floor tonight in Bangor. We've got the first Class C game of the day. It might have been the best. Number 5 Washington Academy taking on number 4 Foxcroft Academy. This one was a barn burner. We pick it up late in the first. It's Lucas Sands playing bully ball. He gets the tough and 1 bucket to give the Ponies a lead, but Washington Academy would respond. Jaden Mahar drives and lays it in to give them a 20-15 lead, but the Ponies would take over the rest of the first half. Lennon McAfee drains the 3. Foxcroft Academy takes the lead into the break. We go to the fourth where everything changed. Raiders down 6, but Luis Rosa gets the bucket and the foul, but he's not done. Very next possession, he does it yet again. Just like that, Washington Academy ties it up after trailing double digits. Ponies not out of the fight. Isaiah Ugburo gets the steal, takes it the other way, and finishes the Euro step with the left to tie it at 39. Washington Academy would pull away, and Akram Nkawanzi delivers the dagger right here as Washington Academy storms back to win 52-42.
I mean, we work hard every day, so I'm just here to do my job, you know. I came all the way from Brazil and up from here. I want to play basketball in the U.S. I'm having fun, and I'm proud of not just me or whole team. That's not for me, it's for everybody here.
Now for the Class C quarterfinal game, the number 1 Caribou Vikings match up with the number 8 Calais Blue Devils for a spot in the semifinal game. Blue Devils get us started. It's Frank Miliano missing the first shot, but he works towards the basket to recover his miss. He makes up for it with a bucket. Then they miss a 3. Landon Belanger grabs the board and tosses it up the court to Owen Corrigan. He's patient and then dishes it to Chandler St. Peter, who gets the finish at the rack. Blue Devils keep it close early. Here's the corner tray from Isaac Downing. Bang, he's got it. Vikings still up second half. They start to pull ahead. Corrigan finds Declan Miller under the net for an easy deuce. Then watch this play. Missed shot is going to be tipped out and swung to Corrigan. He takes it himself. Check out the acrobatic finish on this one as he puts the game on ice. Vikings win 73-47.
Yeah, we really turned up the defense in the second half. That's how we like to play. That's our kind of our MO, and it was nice to finally get back to that and get the jitters out.
Now another candidate for game of the night. It was the 4 seed Dexter Piscataquis taking on the 5 Caribou. We skipped to the second half in this one. Caribou down 7, but here they come as Quinn Corrigan gets the N1 bucket to fall, but Dexter would pull away again as Desiree Adams would get out on the break, lays it in with the left to put Dexter up 8 in the third. Caribou storms back again. Here it's Peyton West who finishes the layup to give Caribou a 1-point lead with under 3 to go. Tie game under 2. Corrigan spins, drives, and lays it in to give Caribou a 2-point lead, but this one would go to overtime. In overtime, Madison Davis hits a free throw to make it a 2-point game. Other end now, Dexter down 3. A free throw's missed. Time winding down. Dexter has a chance to tie. What are they going to do with it? The shot is no good. Caribou wins 43-40. Quinn Corrigan hit the only field goal in overtime.
I mean, I was really just lucky that the ball came to me at the end there. And defense was something we focused on all practice this week, so I think it helped with this game today.
Lastly tonight, the number 1 Mattinock girls take on the number 8 Orono Red Riots. We'll have another upset. Will we have another upset? Let's see. First up, it's Orono and Nina Mitchell. She has her shot blocked, but it's hauled in and kicked out to Aubrey Quinney. She chucks up the long 2-pointer, and it goes down. Next possession, Mitchell returns the favor and swats away Megan House's shot. But a few moments later, House gets the ball back. She finds her good friend Addison Sear near the net, and she's able to lay it in for 2, and they would keep going to her. Once again, the pass is where only Sear can get it. She quickly turns in 2 more. Lastly, Orono's Madison Sinclair on the run launches a 3, and it goes. But ultimately, the Lady Lynx would come away with the win 64-30. We will have all the tournament action on Wednesday for you on Fox and ABC at both 6 and 6:30 and 10 and 11. We hope you will join us. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after.
We can go into a room and have absolutely nothing in there, nothing on the windows, no color, no character, no tone to a room.
That's, I think, where we're strongest, is being able to help someone envision what's going to go in that window.
And we leave, it's totally transformed into something that the customer wants it to be. We've often been told we make a room look better just by leaving it.
A sharp pain in his chest. He knew it was his heart, but 2 hours from the big city hospital could tragically mean the end. But it wasn't. Thanks to Senator Susan Collins' tireless fight for Maine's rural hospitals. Because of Senator Collins' work, his local hospital had recently received up-to-date diagnostic equipment and upgraded facilities, all paid for with new federal funding. Lives are being saved. Call and thank our Senator Susan Collins for delivering this lifeline for Maine.
Berg Activewear wishes Dexter and all the area schools good luck in the tournaments. Good luck in the tournament to all the area teams from Color Concepts, 840 Hammond Street, Bangor. North Star Waste and Recycling in Brewer wishes good luck to all the area teams in the tournament.
Welcome back, everyone. The Herman Neighbors Supporting Neighbors Community Food Pantry got a little help from local teens yesterday. Members of the Herman High School girls basketball team lent a helping hand by going through some of the donations the pantry has received, including clothing, home goods, shoes, and more, helping to get all of the pantry stock organized. Pantry Volunteer Director Carol Lackady says the entire nonprofit organization is staffed by just a few volunteers, so the assistance was more than welcome. She says organizing the pantry supplies will make it easier for clients to access what they need.
We just have everything. We're a different food pantry than most, and our food is non-perishable, so it's shelf-stable. And then we have the clothing and the books and the videos and DVDs, all that on top of it.
The pantry is always open to all and accepting volunteers. For more information, visit Neighbors Supporting Neighbors on Facebook.
Nice of them to kick in,
Absolutely.
pitch in. Well, meanwhile, a new report shows Americans set another domestic air travel record in 2025. AAA Northeast analyzed multiple years of checkpoint data from the Transportation Security Administration. The organization found that more than 904 million flyers went through a TSA checkpoint in 2025, an increase of 2.57 million travelers compared to 2024. The rise in travelers marks a new annual domestic air travel record. According to the analysis, flyer volume for the holiday travel season was a little slower in 2025 compared to the previous year, but AAA says the government shutdown could have contributed to that decline. The analysis also found every Sunday in July 2025 saw more than 3 million domestic air travelers. So AAA says those who wish to avoid airport crowds should probably skip Sundays in July. It's a busy, busy day.
I guess so. Well, now here's meteorologist Devin Biggs with our full weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Janessa, thank you very much. Your full weather forecast brought to you by Stone Artisans. For fast, beautiful countertops, trust Stone Artisans, your main stone supplier. 249-3040. Alrighty, small craft advisory is up until 7 a.m. as we head towards your Thursday. With gusty winds today, we are going to have to watch for the active surf along the coast, and that surf is already increasing at around 4 to 6 feet according to the buoys, and that is all along the coast. Farther out towards sea, look at this, at around 6 to 14 feet according to the buoys as well. So definitely no surprise that we are seeing some active surf throughout the ocean. Now, we've had some snow out there that is now clearing out across the region. So for now, we are going to be seeing decreasing clouds throughout the day, and especially this morning to reveal a lot of sunshine. So as we do zoom things out, there is a large system across a good part of the United States, especially in the upper Midwest. This won't be causing much problems for us, but later on this week, we are going to be watching for some more activity that will be moving in. But locally, for us, lots of sunshine. You might see a few passing clouds. Later on tonight, mostly clear. Some other spots may see some clouds or areas of dense fog. But as we head towards your Thursday, still lots of sunshine. And then by Thursday night, still not looking too bad. Mostly clear again, maybe some areas of dense fog or clouds still. Our average high temperature is at 32 degrees. We'll be in the mid-30s coming up today. Also into your Thursday and into your Friday. Upper 20s coming up Saturday, and still temperatures in the mid-30s coming up Sunday and your Monday. And then there's Tuesday, will be in the low 30s. So for today, again, the wind's going to be the bigger story. Mid-30s, mostly sunny and breezy. That northwest wind at around 25, perhaps 30 miles per hour at times. Later on tonight, 12 degrees, mostly clear. The wind's backing off a bit out of the northwest at around 5, perhaps up to 10 miles per hour. For tomorrow, okay, mid-30s, mostly sunny, northwest breeze at around 5 miles per hour. Let's check out your extended forecast brought to you by Stone Artisans. Will be partly cloudy for your Friday with highs in the mid-30s. Another chance for snow, another system moves in for your Saturday with highs in the upper 20s, and then mid-30s for your Sunday under a partly cloudy sky.
Come in and visit AMHG Works, Bangor's #1 gift shop, located at 36 Springer Drive in the Rennie's Plaza. We have special gifts for you, your furry companion, and that special someone you are in need of a gift for. It's worth a trip in for unique American-made gifts. Here at AMHG Works, everything is American-made, and we are open 7 days a week for your convenience. American-made home goods. We look forward to seeing you.
From a humble horse and buggy beginning over 100 years ago to a fleet of modern deluxe motor coaches today, Sear North Star Tours wants to take you places. In Maine, throughout the United States, and abroad. We offer tours and day trips to suit everyone's interests and passions. Cherry blossoms in the spring, Prince Edward Island in the summer, trips to the city, trips to the shore, culture, history, music, and more. Sear North Star Tours. Where can we take you?
It's tournament time, and ABC 7 is your home for tournament coverage. Watch ABC 7 News at 6 and 11 for all your highlights and interviews as our high school teams go for that gold ball. And get the latest high school bracket information at WVII.com.
Brought to you by Coastal Auto Parts, your local Napa Auto Parts dealer with 30 locations, owned and operated by a Maine family that cares. And Dorsey Furniture, Route 1A Holden, great quality furniture and Bangor's largest in-stock mattress selection. Free statewide delivery.
It's a new game show.
To win, you don't need to know the right answer.
For the average Joe.
Just what most Americans think is right.
Nate Bargatze hosts The Greatest Average American. Premieres February 25th on ABC.
Next Jeopardy! The finals of the Invitational Tournament.
Only 3 remain.
Only one will be crowned champion.
Good luck, finalists.
Next Jeopardy!
Only on ABC 7.
Sit down, unwind, and grab yourself a glass of wine. Today is National Drink Wine Day. Today is for fans of red, white, or rosé. People can celebrate by attending a wine tasting, trying a new wine, toasting with some friends, or visiting a vineyard. When paired with the right meal, the alcoholic beverage can enhance the flavors of spices, fruits, and sauces. Wine lovers can also learn more about how their favorite vino gets made, including their regions and grapes. It is recommended to drink wine, of course, in moderation.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, there is a new member in the Chicago Zoo family. Zoo officials welcome She, a red panda. She is a 7-year-old panda from New York's Prospect Park Zoo, and he is now adjusting to his new home at the Pepper Family Wildlife Center. Caregivers there are helping him get acclimated with his habitat mate, Nisha. Animal experts say this was an effort with the red panda species survival plan. The hope is that She and Nisha will have cubs later on. Red pandas are currently an endangered species and native to East Asia and the Himalayas.
Very cute, too.
It's very cute.
We love the baby animal stories here on Good Morning Maine.
We really do. It's always a good thing to end with, I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
It makes your day better. Yeah. Well, that's all the time that we have left for this hour. But you can join us for the second hour of Good Morning Maine. That's next on Fox 22.
Thanks for being there, everyone. We hope you have a great day.
People ask me all the time, are those commercials really true? Does Lowry & Associates really get all of those clients, all of those big settlements? Yes, we do. We really have gotten millions of dollars for Mainers hurt by commercial vehicles. And the insurance companies know when you call the twos, we're gonna fight for you. And you know what else is true? I really am standing on top of this big truck.
Hurt by a big truck? Call the twos. We win for you.
The Barkhouse Pet Resort and Spa wishes good luck to Herman High School and all the area basketball teams. Carroll Drugstore, your neighborhood pharmacy in Southwest Harbor, would like to congratulate the MDI basketball teams for making it to the tournament. Go Trojans! Congratulations to all the tourney teams and fans from Bangor Bathrooms by Design, with expert design services for remodeling, renovations, and bathroom installations.
Do you own a business or nonprofit in the state of Maine? Annual reports can now be filed online. All business and nonprofit entities on file with the Secretary of State's office must file an annual report to maintain a good standing status. The annual filing deadline is June 1. Questions? Contact the Corporations Division at 207-624-7752 or cec.corporations@maine.gov. Brought to you by this station, the Maine Association of Broadcasters, and the Office of the Secretary of State.
You're watching ABC7 Bangor.
Good morning, America. The major avalanche and urgent search underway.
Live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello, everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, the Woodland Pulp Mill has reported the death of a second employee following a gas release back in January.
Plus, public hearings began at the State House on Governor Mills' proposed supplemental budget.
And Washington County Sheriff Barry Curtis, who's spent more than 4 decades in law enforcement, has announced his retirement.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll have those stories and more coming up. But first, to check that forecast, you may want to just be a little careful this morning. There was a little bit of glaze of ice on the windshield on the roadways.
Yeah, a little foggy too.
Yeah, otherwise it should be a nice day ahead. The sun's going to come out soon. It's going to burn off that fog and the ice.
Yes.
Everybody's dreams are going to come true.
I know.
And we'll live happily